Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Lessons in Leadership. Today, I'm excited to have our guest on board, probably the coolest educator in Africa, Mamokgethi Phakeng. And she has, if you don't know, she's been pretty active on LinkedIn, as you can see. I mean, she's got more than 100,000 followers, and I think it's from an array of people that are really inspired by what she stands for. So it's with a massive, privilege to welcome her on. And let's get started. All right, Mamokgethi, thank you so much for joining me. And I think from what you've been up to, it's really inspiring to see the example that you're setting. And am I correct? You're on sabbatical now. You're not going to the 8 to 5.
I'm on sabbatical, and when I'm not on sabbatical, it's not an 8 to 5. It's like a 4 to 8 p.m.
So for you, Mamokgethi, right now, what are you busy with right now? So in the sabbatical, as I understand it, with the University of Cape Town, as the Vice Chancellor and the Principal at the University of Cape Town, you're in a position where, is it every 5 years that they offer you a sabbatical, or how does that work?
No, sabbatical, you accumulate it as you go on. For every year, you accumulate 1 month. So you don't have to wait for 5 years. But I've been at UCT 6.5 years, and so I decided to take it now because I've been appointed for the second term, and I just wanted to take a break at the end of the first term to reflect, to recharge, to rejuvenate. But also to write and to develop areas of my leadership that I believe needs development. So I'm currently taking a leadership course with IMD in Lausanne, and I'm busy writing a manuscript that I hope will be published will be announced before I go back to work.
Oh, well, okay. Please let us know, because I'll definitely be a customer for reading that. And you spoke about, are you taking a leadership course, or are you creating a leadership course with them?
I'm taking a leadership course. I mean, it's important. In my culture, they say, as a doctor, you can't medicate yourself. You go to another healer to medicate you. So I'm taking a course. I'm taking a leadership course with the IMD Business School in Lausanne, Switzerland.
So that's quite interesting, because here we have, I think naturally, and it goes back to thousands of years ago, we pay attention to where people are perceived to be in a food chain. So when it comes to title, right? So title is a strong signal to a lot of people in terms of where you're fitting within the social hierarchy. And if I'm a student, or if I'm a professional, and I see now the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Town with over 30,000 students and I think thousands of employees, why is it that you should be going on a course when you've supposedly made it to Vice Chancellor? I mean, what more can you actually learn with the experience that you've accumulated thus far?
We never stop learning. We lead in an uncertain time, in a changing environment. Things are not the same, and so you always have to sharpen your leadership skills. And for me, I thought this is the right time to do it, because it's the end of my first term. I can reflect and say what has worked well, what hasn't worked well. What do I need to grow in, or perhaps to say what muscle I need to strengthen so that I can lead better. And so you are never complete. And I think the best way to lead is to never assume you know everything. It doesn't matter how long you've been leading. Each one of us has got an opportunity to get better at what we do. So that's why I'm on this. You never stop learning, you never stop growing. And in the process, by the way, because I mean the community that we're leading is changing. So in the process, you might want to change gear. You might want to rethink how you've been doing things, because the world is not the same anymore. it keeps changing. So the world is not the same even after COVID. What does it mean to lead in an uncertain and rapidly changing world? It's very different from what it was when I took on the position.
So if I'm sitting in a position now where I don't necessarily have this societally kind of attributed title, such as the seniority that comes with a vice chancellor or a CEO, and I'm within a smaller organization, what do you recommend then that I should be on the watch out for, or what actions that I should be taking to begin this practice of leadership? Because, like you say, is it's the world is always changing. Therefore, we always have to be observant, and we always have to be keeping with the motions. We shouldn't be standing still. So, from what you've been exposed to thus far, what would you then recommend for me to actually look at doing from tomorrow?
I think you should start with leading yourself. And I would say to anyone, actually any young person, start by leading yourself. Look at how you, first of all, how do you use the resources that are at your disposal? Whether that resource is time, it's money, or people around you. Just look at how you're using that resource. That's part of how you can start leading yourself. How can you use those resources differently, more impactfully? And then look at the interactions that you're having with people. Which ones work well, which ones don't work well. There's never, in any interaction, even if it falls apart, it can never be just one person's problem. There's always two people in it. It's always a dance between two people. Always look at yourself and how you contributed to that relationship or that interaction falling apart or succeeding. And I think that's are just beginning stages of leading yourself. If you can't pinpoint how you think about how you use the resources that you have just at your disposal, then I don't think you're even ready to lead anyone if you can't lead yourself.
100%. And in your experience thus far, who have the people been that have been involved in your life thus far? Who have they been that has really allowed you to go on this journey and also to hold yourself accountable? Because I think that's probably one of the another elements that isn't necessarily the most comfortable to be in, where you're exposing or opening yourself up to being held accountable by close friends or family. So from your point of view, who have the people been that you've really made sure are there, not necessarily just to cheer you on, but to also say, hey, I'm going to hold you accountable to what you said? Because, I mean, for example, you say you're going to do a book. So who's that person making sure that you're not going to miss that deadline?
Yeah, look, this book has been long in the works. So and I think at this point in time, the people who are doing the most in terms of holding me accountable are my children. I think my children are doing a very good job. They can easily call me out. They can easily say to me, "You said you're going to do this and you haven't done it," because I guess your children are the ones who sort of have nothing to lose. And so they can call you out anytime. And I think at this point in time, they do that job much better. And perhaps I also trust their judgment when they call me out, when they hold me accountable to deliver on what I said I'm going to deliver, or even call me out on things that they think I'm not doing so well.
So let's talk about then a situation where something has happened. You have done something or you haven't done something.
Yeah.
If a student's listening and someone as a professional, what is that way that you need to go about holding someone accountable?
I think you need to first question your intention. Why do you want to hold them accountable? And I think this is important, because if you can answer why do you want to hold them accountable or call them out, it will also say then how you're doing it. So if you want to hold people accountable, someone accountable because you want to feel good about yourself, then you're going to drag the vice chancellor on Twitter. It makes you feel good because you're the one who dragged her, right? That's not gonna, that's why don't be surprised if that person doesn't trust you or doesn't even listen, because that's not for them, it's for you, because you're dealing with something inside of you, a weakness inside of you, and so you're using them as an opportunity to attend to your own insecurity or your own weakness. And that's why you need to do it in the way that you're doing it. You need to do it publicly. You need to do it that way, because it's gonna speak. If your intention is for them to get better or to become better, then it will matter. You'll see how you do it, and when you do it will change, because you want to be talking to them and you want to do it in a form of a feedback, and so that they can hear you, and they can trust your your judgment in terms of giving feedback in terms of what they're doing.
So if we look then at being a professional, and when I say being a professional, I really mean in 2022, that really has the traditional meaning of professional has been challenged, both in the examples now that everyone is setting. And what I've been observing, and you have been one particular person that I've truly gained inspiration from in terms of that example that you're setting, is moving away from the norm of a professional being someone that is chiseled within a particular box, someone that is actually exactly who other people think they should be. From your perspective, what have you noticed in the evolution of the meaning of being a professional in 2022 and beyond?
Clint, I don't know what you mean. The evolution of being a professional. I mean, I think descriptions of what a professional looks like or behaves in a way are challenged, because if you think about it, those descriptions or those narratives have been informed by a particular way of being. And if you like, I can say by Western perspectives. Because there's a way of being a professional as a woman that would have been frowned upon years ago. That if I'm wearing dangling earrings like this, it would have been not right. You must wear studs. They shouldn't be dangling because they draw attention. You got to wear darker clothes or nude or whatever, because they don't draw attention to yourself. And there have been a lot of narratives about that, and those narratives are often anti perhaps an African way of being. We as Africans are generally colorful. The clothes that we wear are colorful. The earrings, our way of being. I mean, even our neck pieces are bold. And so our way of being is not that. And so if you think about the fact that there's been generally a challenge to Western ways of being, Western ways of knowing and seeing and doing, therefore the mainstream way of being a professional would be challenged today. I think, and I think it would also go to not just how you appear, but how you communicate, how you relate with people. I mean, I know for sure that there are many people who have challenged me about the fact that other vice chancellors don't do that. As a vice chancellor, you're not supposed to relate with students that way. Why are you the only vice chancellor who does this? And I have made peace with the fact that I do not have to fit in the mode of the Western mode of what a vice chancellor looks like, because these times are different. Part of the reasons why Black students felt marginalized, not part of, and so on, is because everything on campus was modeled around the Western ways of being, and they felt like they couldn't see themselves. And so even African academics and other kinds of staff members fell into that mode. And I thought, I just want to be me. The job is so hard on its own anyway. Why do I want to put another layer of trying every day to be something that I'm not? I want to lead from my place of authenticity, and I'm making peace with the fact that it will not sit well with everyone, but I draw strength from the fact that there will be many students, Black and white, who will look at my way of being and say, that resonates. This is a place for me to be. And so I can be who I am. If she can come here in her afro, surely I am fine. The fact that everyone in my res has got a weave doesn't mean I have to do that. And other, you can say, I can be whoever I want. I can be who I am because she is who she is. I'm hoping that it does that. But at the same time, it's of service to me because it helps me not to try to manage too many balls, because there are too many anyway for me to be able to do this job. Then I don't have to worry about this one of pretending to be something else. I have to worry about other balls of being, the many jobs that I have in the university.
I mean, and that just proves where you're setting an example of being you, of being human, of being authentic, of being imperfect, of not being just perfect in every facet of life. Yeah. And like you say, when you give the example, of your hair, and it's not necessarily now that everyone now, must do it exactly the same, but the hair is the setting the example of be who you are, be yourself, right? Yes. Here's an example of what I'm doing that I believe represents who I am. So what is it that you can do going forward that represents who you are? And would you even agree that it's kind of like then the word, that meaning around professional is currently moving, for the most part, is moving from conformity and uniformity in a specific, say, Western way, now moving towards actually being authentic and being human in a very even unpredictable but unique way.
I would agree with that, and being human is key. Grant, when you say being human, it's key. It also means that, as a human, one day you're going to miss a step. And so what do you do when you miss a step? And I don't mind if I miss a step. Damn, I'm human, man. I'm quite happy to come and say, hey, I missed a step. And I'm sorry. This is how I noticed I missed a step, or this is how I missed it, if I need to explain that. But I think we come from a past that has presented leaders and professionals as perfect, that has presented success as perfect, no fault, no whatever. To an extent that leaders, there's a lot of leaders in our world who can't even be vulnerable, even when it's necessary to be vulnerable, because that can sort of build a little bit of trust in them to say, oh, okay, so this person can actually see when they go wrong, and they can backtrack and try to correct. So actually I can trust them, that I can walk the journey with them. So I think that's part of the authenticity. Of course, as a leader, you want to protect certain parts. You want people, those that you lead, to feel that they're in good hands, to feel that they can follow. So the idea is not to be so transparent that everything, and people feel scared to follow you. But the idea is to be authentic and be vulnerable as and when the need arises, because you are only human after all. And that humanity should not go away. If you can't take the risk of being human, you might find that you find it difficult to humanize other people.
And have you seen now from your experience, I mean, when you were elected to be the Vice Chancellor then of the University of Cape Town, what was the one thing, I know there were most likely many things, but what was the one thing that you set out to truly influence change for?
I mean, I wanted to change, to shift institutional culture. I mean, I took office at a very difficult time whilst we were still in, sort of towards the end of the fees must fall. I don't think the fees must fall protests have ended. But it was in 2018 when shutdowns were the order of the day. And I wanted to rebuild the relationship between the management, students, and staff in general. I wanted to create an environment where every student can feel that it is their place too. And thirdly, I wanted to bring back the idea of a university as a place for ideas, as a place where ideas can be contested and it is okay, that it is not a church as if we all have to believe the same thing, that people can feel comfortable even in disagreement, and people know that the fact that we disagree on a particular issue doesn't mean we hate one another. It just means that we've got different ideas, and the idea that doesn't agree with mine sharpens mine. It helps me get better at why I'm holding on this idea. If I do not hear anything that critiques my idea, I might not even have strong reasons for holding on to my idea. So to value dissenting voices or voices that go against the grain, I wanted to bring that back, and it's been a journey. I mean, and people might actually critique what I'm saying was my big thing that I wanted to do. It doesn't mean that none of this has got anything to do with the academic program. It does, because in an environment where certain voices are silenced, you weaken the intellectual robustness of the space. And in a space where others feel excluded and marginalized and whatever, you actually lessen the chances of success of everyone. So, and doing that would actually enable the academic project, and it would enable also the transformation project, which actually goes together with the excellence project. These two things are not in competition, but they're together. And my view is that we can only do that if we change institutional culture. And it takes a long time. It doesn't take only 5 years. But I think where we are now is way better than where we were in June 2018.
You spoke about building connections, and from anyone in any organization, it doesn't matter if they're in a very, very small team, 2 people or 100 people as an example, a lot of the times we can feel intuitively, we know that something is wrong, that something is not necessarily how it should be, how individuals are being treated, or how individuals are not feeling valued. And the problem, though, that happens, at least from my experience, what I found in my professional career, is a lot of the times people don't necessarily know what the first step is that they need to take in order to start reconnecting, to possibly repair or build completely new connections. So when you speak about building the connections, as you came in between the students, between the lecturers and so on, from the actual practicalities of you implementing for that change, what for you did you actually do to start creating those connections in a very practical manner?
I mean, for me, the first big step was to do things that can make students aware that management are human and they care about you. But I had to do that myself first. You know, I can't drag everyone to go there. So I started by going to residences and sitting in dining halls with students. And they would ask me what, and I would say, I'm here to see what you're eating, because I do want to know that the food that you're eating is up to standard. And I can only know that by coming to share it with you. And I wouldn't even make an appointment. So the kitchen staff wouldn't know that I'm coming. The students wouldn't know. So there's nothing special. And I stand in the queue and I watch. So, and I don't want a special plate, and I'll take whatever they're taking. I think first that in and of itself said to students, oh, so she cares that much. But it's interesting because it's not so much just that I care. I mean, it took me a long time to accept that I am a representation of the university. If I do it, it is UCT cares. It is not Gekhi cares. It can start as Gekhi cares, but it goes to our VC cares, and then it goes to, management cares. And at some stage, as it goes further and further away from you, it goes on to UCT cares. When I help collect students from residences, or I phone students who have done well, and I say, you get in the VC's scholarship, and that's something. So I think just starting there and walking around campus and interacting with students, asking them, what do they find challenging? What do they enjoy about the university? Or interact with gardeners. I mean, that's something, interacting with gardeners about their work. And then when we crafted our Vision 2030, I mean, one of the things, I mean, we did it in a way that's never been done before. The consultations that we did, and the fact that I call cleaning and gardening staff into the room, and I say to them, I want to talk to you about the future of the university. And the fact that they've never seen that before, and they say, but why do you want to talk to us about that? We want you to pay us well. And I say to them, well, of course, I understand that's what you want, but in order to be paid well, you need to care about where the university is going. Don't you want me to tell you? Even if the first time I did it, it took like 45 minutes before we even started talking about the future of the university, but it was so worthwhile. And that for me, it sort of shifts people's perception of what management is. Oh, management takes us seriously. They want us to tell them what we think about where the university is going. Like, it's not just Gekhi want us to do this. Like, management wants us to do this. Does it mean they quickly stop fighting for salary increment? It doesn't. But it's one step at a time. We're moving away from where we were. And slowly we go on to the next. And those are not the only, I mean, I do every 2 weeks, my executive team, we meet with the SRC every 2 weeks since I took office for 1 hour, just to hear what are the issues, and we want to hear them before they become a crisis. Every quarter, I meet with leaders of all the unions in the university, the executive meets with all the leaders. It's not negotiable. Every executive has to be there. And I understand that some executives don't necessarily like this, but this is how I lead. We've got to do this. This is how we're going to close the gap. Because with academics, we meet them at Senate, we visit departments, but with other staff members, it's not easy to meet with them. So if we don't create these possibilities, then it's not possible. And when I started, I talked about this as creating peace when there is no conflict. That's about creating peace in the absence of conflict. How do you do that? Is you build relationships. They don't necessarily make everything perfect, but they make things a little better than what they used to be. And with time, it improves with time. Let me put it that way.
Gekhi, what you're saying there around, so your title comes with power, right? But what you've just described to me now is practically when you have a position of such power, by removing that power, by making yourself vulnerable, and by going to the residences and not expecting a silver spoon and not expecting a special treatment, by removing what is normally associated with that power in terms of reward that come with power, you literally are then recognizing the responsibility. You're prioritizing the responsibility connected on two sides of the same coin. There's the power, but there's that responsibility that you're recognizing through then your behavior by not asking and requesting and instructing for special treatment. And I think from my side, it's if I'm in a position now where I'm in a team or any organization, whether I'm leading or following someone within a management level, how can I communicate, right, with them what types of challenges I am facing that may not necessarily be organization-wide, which is what they're responsible for, and be acutely focused, say, within my area, of daily tasks. Like, what do you think is the best way of creating the forum or creating the environment such that I can communicate this, but fully knowing that I am one element of, an organization. And so this person is not necessarily just responsible for my section, also responsible, for a whole lot of other ones. What kind of ways can I start to adopt or start to apply to start facilitating that sort of forum?
And this you're talking about if perhaps that person who has the power and the position doesn't necessarily reach out. How do you?
Yeah, because this is the point. Is you've set, and from my opinion, and this is what I always aspire towards, is literally the example that you've set, which is you've set like the ideal example of what it means by someone in that position moving to the team. But if someone maybe is completely unaware in a management level, they're completely unaware of this disconnect, right? How is it that possibly we can take proactive action to move to them?
I think I would invite them to the department and say, and I think it's in the way that you invite them, because people who are at my position get attacked quite a lot, and sometimes people protect themselves. They don't want to get closer or to the lower levels because then the abuse is just heightened. I would write to them and invite them and say, we as a department would like to host you. We really appreciate your leadership, and we want to have an interaction with you about what we are excited about as a department, and the challenges that we are facing. And we believe that in interacting with you, would be able to find our way around them. I mean, I think, you first of all, you're acknowledging the leadership that is making a difference. Second of all, you want to share them the good news, and then you want to share some things that are not working. You're not just saying, come here, we want to challenge you, we have demands. That's a different matter. I think any leader would come, because they would be feeling like you're not a bunch of negative people who just want to criticize. It should come as we want to have a constructive conversation. Whereas my style is to get into the space, and sometimes it's hostile. I don't care, because I have an agenda. It's fine if it's hostile. I'll manage that. I'll deal with it. But with time, people can see, what am I doing? And not all of them will think that what I'm doing is bad. Not all of them will be hostile.
Well, this actually links to what you said right in the beginning, which is, what is your intention, right?
Yeah.
And whether it be, coming from a team member to someone that hasn't necessarily acknowledged that there is a disconnect and has moved towards, building back connection. It's like, what is your intention when you try to communicate with management? What is management's intention when they communicate with me? And I definitely think that's something practical that people can use, is make sure that, almost like a litmus test, where before I'm just about to communicate with you, whether it be message, email, or a letter, does this communicate the intention that I want there to be a net positive instead of a zero-sum game where I win and you lose?
Exactly. I think that's important. I think the intention is important, and for you to be clear to yourself what's the intention. And
be honest with yourself as well. Is like, try your best to remove that ego, try your best to remove that in that primal state of survival, of I need to survive and at all costs. And you spoke also around some people not liking necessarily, say, some of the initiatives that you have been driving. And that's something that naturally comes with this role, right? Is a lot of the things that you do and that you don't do, some people, quite a lot of people may not like, right?
Yeah.
And how do you navigate, and how do you at least just process the fact that we're living in a world right now where a lot of people are insecure or have an insecurity around not being liked, all right, by others. And we've seen it in terms of social platforms and so on, and the signaling effect that happens with the dopamine and all of that. And for you, how is it that you process the fact that you may post something on LinkedIn, or you may share or drive a particular initiative like meeting up with the SRC every 2 weeks? How do you process then if someone doesn't like it?
I often think it's not about me, it's about them. I mean, the SRCs are not the same. There are SRCs, at least since I've been in office, where that SRC doesn't like meeting. We meet with them every 2 weeks, whatever, and they just don't like it. And then there are SRCs who make the most of the opportunity. So for me, if people don't like, if I'm really convinced that what I'm doing is the right way to go, and some people don't like it, I really, I just tell myself, not everybody is gonna like what I do. If you want everyone to like what you do, then don't do anything, because then they will love you, because everything is the same. As long as you're doing anything that's a little different, that's gonna do, there will be people who don't like it, right? If it's legal, if it's in the interest of the institution, if it's moving us forward, then I don't mind people who don't like it. Some people will catch the train later, and some people do actually. And some people will never catch up because they want us to go back to 1958. We can't go back. You know what I mean? Like, some people we can't help. I'm not selling ice cream, guys. So,
Well, doesn't that literally then, justify also the situation or the scenario whereby you have to choose what you're willing to stand for. Like, you have to have a belief system. And guess what? A lot of people believe in different things, right? Forget, not just from a religious point of view, but it's, the right way versus the wrong way. And people have I think that's where, you're also demonstrating this, where in order for you to stand for something, you literally you have to accept that there will be naturally people that don't agree with you. And it's not that they may not necessarily that they will disagree with you because of who you are. It's because they disagree with you because of what they stand for. And so if you move it away then from just they disagreeing with me because they don't like me, to wait, they maybe just disagree with me because of their background, because of what they've grown up to believe in, and let me just be consistent, let me be aligned with that belief system through my actions and through setting that example. And like you then said, around some people, and I've also experienced this, where they do then jump on because they start seeing that your talk, your words are now linked to those actions. And the more and more people that they see benefiting, and not just you in isolation benefiting, other people benefiting, they then have a certain validation to their decision now, because they possibly experienced a lot of trauma or hurt in the past as well.
Absolutely. I mean, you at the same time, Grant, you also have to be able to hear, because sometimes some critique is important. It shows you the blind spots. It shows you whatever. I mean, one of the things that I started as Vice Chancellor is a conversations with dissenting voices, and I call it dissenting voices, and I host that, and I deliberately put down topics that are controversial, that we may not like, uncomfortable, that we may not like, that we whatever, and it's for leadership. So often invites everyone from members of council to heads of departments, and it's really to say, we are a university. If we, as the leadership of the university, can't sit and listen to someone we don't like, perhaps number one, we don't like them, or someone talking about something that we don't agree with, and they make an argument for why it is right, so that we can hear where are they coming from, and then I set up someone to respond to them, so that we can hear both sides. And every time I host the dissenting voices, I remind colleagues that this is dissenting voices, so don't expect to be comfortable. It's going to disrupt how you think. It's going to make you uncomfortable. You may be angry with me as to why this is happening, but that's why we're doing it. And I did that because I just thought, it's very easy when you are in a position of power to silence the voices that you don't like, to silence the things that you don't want to hear. And frankly speaking, I am much more radical about that. I mean, I've been very soft. There are people that I want to get into the room. I haven't gotten them into the room first yet, because I know that some of my colleagues will freak out, right? But I still
there's a transition. There's a process to this mood change, right?
Exactly. So I started slow, with the little discomforts, and we go on. But I know at some stage I want to get someone who people don't. I want people, but people need to hear dissenting voice. That's what leadership is about. We don't only lead people who agree with us, we also lead people who disagree with us. And people think I should do that on Twitter. No. On Twitter, I can block you because there's no thinking, there's no engagement. But in dissenting voices, conversations hosted by the VC, there's an open space. It's calm. I'll make sure that I want to be uncomfortable as well. I want to hear where you're coming from, so that I understand what informs what you do and how you do it. And you can never hear that on Twitter, but you can hear it in an environment such as that. So sometimes for me, that's helpful, because even when we have engagements with students, I sometimes think, okay, the penny drops, like, yes, I get you now. That blind spot, okay, I don't agree with your solution, but I get the problem. Now, let's try to solve that problem, and I realized if we didn't have that engagement, I would have never grasped it. As uncomfortable as it is, it's important, as it was important to have,
And I mean, wouldn't you say that it gets to that point where I disagree with you, but I can accept your perspective? So by accepting your perspective, it doesn't mean now we're completely aligned, all right?
Yes.
I can accept it because, well, first of all, I'm not you, so how could I dare think, that I know, the perfect answer or the perfect perspective here? But it's like, okay, I accept it now. Now that I've accepted it, but I can intellectually disagree with this, what can we do about it, right? Yeah. Now that there's a respect on both levels, right, through practicing, I would say, empathy, how can we solve this together? Because the longer we stay on either side of the fence, it doesn't benefit anyone collectively, for the long term. So, Mamokgethi, you've given us so much insights. Time is flying by. It's really been incredible. And I want to leave you with one more question around balance, right? Because in your role, it comes with a lot of expectation and a lot of moving parts. And for me, just to share like my perspective around balance is, there's been this thing where, you need a balanced life, as if life is just, this perfect puzzle where we can just do it like this. And I often find it's less about necessarily making everything 50-50 or equal, and more around like prioritization, around like what is the priority right now, and what is this, this level. From your perspective and from your experience in your role, how is it that you are looking to prioritize your life, both from a professional and private point of view, so that you can manage with this expectation, in all spheres that you're involved with?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's never a balance. I always talk about trade-offs. And for me, I always think about what is it that will be with me to eternity? What is it? Or forever? And that I don't want to lose. What is it that will take care of me, whether emotionally, spiritually, or whatever? And so there are things that I prioritize. I mean, I'm a Christian, so I prioritize my relationship with God. So there are things that I will not do because they do not sit comfortably in the context of my relationship with God. I don't care who says what. They do not sit comfortably in what I call my relationship with my God, right? And then my children. I keep thinking, it doesn't matter how angry I make them or they make me, they will always be mine, right? So they can't divorce me, they can't dump me, they can't, they're here, right? And then it's my mental health. I mean, I never used to put it so much up front. But now I do, because I know how important it is and how easily one can lose it. And then I'd say my career won't leave me. I mean, I will probably leave it because I can't do it anymore for whatever reason. But it really can't leave me. It will take care of me. It will feed me. It'll whatever. So for me, these are certain things. These are the things that I would prioritize. And I would say, if I have to make a choice, I would say, what is the trade-off here, and what is not? Yeah, I would put it there. So nothing is balanced. But I always run for those things that will take care of me, protect me, will never leave me unceremoniously, and make me feel safe.
Outstanding. Well, Mamokgethi, thank you so much for everything today and for this session. I think a lot of people have really gained from this. So I really, really appreciate you giving up your time and on your sabbatical as well. And absolutely wish you the best in regard to what you're involved with. And I'll definitely be one of the first customers to buy that book when it's released. And I think also just, in terms of the award that you recently won, the Africa Education Medal, just an absolute massive thank you for being, a beacon of example for everyone. And I mean, who knows? I mean, I saw that message from Oprah, so maybe she'll come on this podcast as well. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Everyone, thank you again for joining us for episode 9. It's been an absolute, really, really inspiring session. I hope that you gain value from this. And if you would like to, be notified within future sessions, you're welcome to subscribe, and also just share your feedback about what you found valuable and what you found insightful, because it really is, possible to include these in future, especially with your ideas. So we'll see you next episode, and looking forward to it. Cheers.